Hi there, and welcome to the Pod Pod, the Northwest's newest all-purpose recording studio for content creators. If you've got something to say and need a place to say it, search for podpod.uk. In all the usual social channels, give us a like and a follow, and get in touch to reserve your time to create. Today I was joined in the Pod Pod by Liz Douglas, owner of Roots and Branches Social Enterprise. We had a fascinating chat about her background, her first job, which was definitely not the job she thought it was going to be, the calling to a different path, and the incredible work she has delivered since then, working at the heart of some of the most socially challenged communities in the UK. Today, Roots and Branches has become a UK-wide rich resource, providing practical and proven guidance for anyone working closely with members of communities that face the toughest societal and economic challenges. So here we are at the Pod Pod at Magicalogical. It's not the first time you've been here, Liz. You've been in the studio before with Dave Baxter and a few of the people who've benefited from the training and teaching that you've given them. But for those who know very little about you, Liz, I wonder if you give me a bit of background about yourself and what you're about and what drives you and what interests you and stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Liz Douglas. I'm the director of a social enterprise called Roots and Branches. But I always say my first job is being a mum of two gorgeous girls, Jennifer and Annabelle. Taught me so much in life. I think you can go to college for all your life, but you'll never learn as much as you do from your children. So my background professionally is construction. So I did 13 years in construction, of which I loved the machines and watching the earth move, etc.
When you say construction,
Yeah.
what side of construction? So in project management, on sites, or a mixture of
So I
both?
worked in plant hire. So the companies I worked for were, for example, Hewden Stewart, Caterpillar, who rented out large items of plant, so the big diggers, your dumper trucks. Absolutely love playing all them, but my role was more on the sales side and the business development side. So I held, my role was to work with key account clients, so like the top 5 spenders or the top 10 spenders, and be able to maintain those relationships. But that meant spending a lot of time out on site, making sure the plant that we were putting out on site was in good order, which meant learning about the machines. That means I got to play on them.
What do you think of the construction industry during that period then, as a woman in construction?
Yeah, so back then, I think there was one other lady in construction within my field, and I fell into the role because when I finished college, I did business studies for 2 years. I went to the job centre, and there was a job working in administration in a plant company. So I turned up for my interview, thought I was going to be applying for a job selling plants.
Right. Okay.
And when I got there and there were these big diggers and 25-ton dump trucks, I was like, I've come to the wrong place, I better check. And like, there was no mobile phones then, so I knocked on this door and I said, hi, I'm looking for Vibraplant. And they went, yeah, this is it. I was like, all right. So I had my interview, totally had to switch my narrative of what we're going to say about what I liked about plants.
So you were thinking on your feet then?
Thinking on my feet, and was interviewed by 2 guys who ended up having work relationships with them for about 10 years. We worked with different organisations within the plant hire industry together.
Yeah. So when you saw that job advert, I'm just intrigued now. So I've hired quite a number of plants in this room, and I can understand why that might be an industry that you thought existed, because it's probably an industry that we can make some money in, but plant hire. So then you get there and you got to think on your feet. You're thinking out the box. You're trying to switch up your narrative to I suppose still get the job and all the rest of it. And when you walked out of there, had they offered you the job, or were you confident that it was yours? Or
I didn't have a clue. All I knew was I had a good. I hadn't had many interviews. I was only 18. I hadn't had many interviews, but I knew that I got along well with the who was the regional manager and the depot manager at the time. And yeah, when I got the call to say that I got the job, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going selling plants, but I'm going working in the office of this. And it turned out to be the best thing that happened to me, like what I learnt in the 2 or 3 years I was with that organisation, the people I met. I worked with Patrick McGuinness. He worked there as well, so it was a really good place to work, and I started to learn. I think I've always had a bit of a where I come from, it's quite you play on the street, hard knock kind of life. So playing on these machines to me was like just playing out in the streets up Brightmead, where I come from. So playing on these machines and learning about them, and there was a barrier for females at the time. And I remember I was poached by another plant hire company and to do the same job in the offices in Preston. And there was a role that came available for area sales manager, and no one was really applying and met the needs. So I knew the job inside out. I knew the machines. I knew the clients because I'd dealt with them in the office on the phone. So I said to the manager, I want to apply for this job. And the answer was, no, women don't go this far.
Oh, really?
Which he didn't say it, and they didn't go that far. It was just a fact at the time.
Yep.
So I said to him, well, you've got to at least give me an interview, like for experience. Thank you. At least give me an interview for experience. So they went, all right then, if it'll keep you happy, it'll keep you quiet. So I went in and had my interview. And he came back and said, well, there's nobody else who could do the job, so we're going to take a risk. So that was like